Ravi. Today, guys, I have Ravi Rothenberg on my podcast. I'm pretty stoked to have finally gotten Ravi here. We are two dads who have two schedules on opposite sides of the world
Mhm.
and new kids. So we've got everything in the balance here. So pleased to have you with me, mate. Welcome.
Tyson, really good to be here. Yeah, we moved mountains to make this happen, and it feels worth it.
Yeah, man. We were just saying in the pre-chat that you're on the move and you're moving house. Where so was the move for work or is that kind of a family decision?
Yeah, the move, actually, it was a bit out of our control. We moved into this place where I am now really intentionally. This was where we kind of built our nest, and we gave a home. We had a home birth, and it happened right here. Um, and we've only been living in this place for about 9 months, but
Mm.
we liked it. It was really, again, a good nest, and we wanted to stay here longer. But our landlord is selling the house, and so we were not able to renew our lease, and so we had to make a decision to either buy the place, which was an option, um, but it didn't seem like the best investment for us right now, and so we are moving and renting a new place, and I'm happy to share more about the new place because actually it's pretty interesting what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, man. That story in itself, it's like that was our journey. Um, when actually arrived, like we were in our house up until um, June, and we moved in June, had River in December. Then we got the notice that we had to move because our landlords were selling. So, and then yeah, we've been kind of moving around ever since, and now we're in our new place. It's going to be our new birthing grounds. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what you've got going on in the new house and what your plans are there. That's for sure. It's always nice for a
Yeah.
bit of a new start. It's that hard um, first initial kind of we've got to move from this birthing place. We've got to move from this place that we hold so special to us. And then it's like, no, it's
Yeah.
okay. Let's move. Let's do it. So yeah, what have you got
Yeah.
happening in your new place?
So the highlight is that the space is almost 3 times larger than our current house. The new space it's massive, um, and it's too big for just us. So we are moving in with another family who is in a very similar place to us. They're a conscious mom and dad with a daughter that's just a few months older than our daughter. So we'll have two families, yeah, two sets of parents and two babies under a year old living together under one roof.
Nice, man. That'd be like the village. The tribe is kind of there. There's yeah.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Have you got space and stuff there for kind of setting yourself up like for gardens and stuff like that, or with the guys that you're doing that with them?
Not this place. That's the one thing it doesn't have is a bunch of land. Um, it's we're in a town that's very natural. There's lots of what's called open space, which is kind of like protected, just public use. Um, but we don't have a bunch of space to make, yeah, heaps of gardens, and we'd love to have chickens and some livestock in the future, but not at this place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sounds cool. It'd be great for the little ones to be able to have that play friend close by.
Yeah.
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 And one thing I found even with parenting, like it's having those people closer by that even just gives you and your partner like 10 minutes to have a chat when the kid can just like go for
Hmm.
um and as you're well aware, it's like being able to have these conversations with your partner in times of crisis, but even just like talking through things rather than kind of just snapping at each other or being two ships in the night is really vital in a healthy relationship. Hey.
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So what sort of programs and stuff are you into at the moment? Are you? I saw recently that you were doing a dad circle or retreat. Um, how did that come about?
Hmm. Yeah, great question. For the last few years, I've been coaching men one-on-one and in small groups. That's been the focus. I think I've worked with two female people, two women over the last few years, but mostly my audience is men. Um, and that was my journey too, of like m- personal growth and being in men's circles and doing both like in-person brotherhood men's work and then also virtual men's work. I just felt so energized and inspired by it. And it was such a big part of my journey to becoming a full, healthy, embodied masculine dude. And then that ultimately was so much of that work. I give a lot of that credit for being able to step into fatherhood like with 2 feet in, like confident, embodied, ready, right? Not like 1 foot in, 1 foot out, still playing like a teenage boy. Um, there's still some of that. I'm human. But men's work has really inspired me to be the version of the father that I am today. Um, and so for me, it was really natural to evolve the work I was doing with men in groups to now I was like, oh, I want to do this work for dads, whether they're brand new dads or dads who've been on the path for a while and they're not feeling like they have the resources or the awareness or the just again the community, the brotherhood to do it more fully, more effectively.
Hmm. Mate, that's one of the reasons why I got into kind of yoga teaching and then into meditation teaching because like one of my main goals is to run regular men's retreats and also meetups and have people kind of actually being able to access these beautiful practices that actually allows you to, yeah, like you said, do the work and be a father that can go 2 feet in and actually be someone who shows up and be and is present um
Yeah,
and because it's like it's an interesting thing because it's also all relative. I feel to the person's experience that they're experiencing. It's like what is showing up, and that's one question that I would
yeah,
actually like. We can maybe have a think about and unpack because yeah, like what is showing up
yeah,
and to you because showing up to you might be showing up differently because I know um, my father he showed up, but he showed up with money to like here this is to help.
right, right.
Yeah, and that's one of the real big things that I worked on is like, um, yeah, that's a great part. That's actually being a provider, but then how do you then provide emotional support or whatever it is to your child? So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah,
let's unpack that one.
yeah, yeah. There's a lot there. I think, and to your point, what you can provide is only a reflection of what is in your own field of consciousness, right? If I'm a guy who's selling apples and I've never even heard of an orange, all I know is apples, right? And then somebody comes along like, well, I want an orange, and you're like, well, I don't even know what that is because it's out of my field of like reference, right? And so I, what I'm providing is presence. It's nervous system sensitivity. It's a regulated, safe environment for connection and growth, right? And these are, again, things that have been so crucial on my journey. So that's the only thing I know. This is what I have to provide. Um, but again, for most men, I would say, again, zooming out, guys are a little bit slower right now to getting on the personal growth path. Um, not by no fault of their own, right? We're just maybe a little bit slower to like want to open up and say, hey, there's something that I'd like to explore. Um, and and so yeah, I feel a lot of dads are still, here's the money. Like I'm doing my best. I'm working hard so that we can have a roof over our head and food on the table. What else do you want from me? Um,
Absolutely, man. Like I
yeah,
recently I was like I'm on Facebook only purely pretty much for like business kind of purposes and networking and stuff. And I recently joined up a couple of dads Facebook groups, and it for me it was alarming to see
yeah,
what the normal is for a lot of men, and like
yeah,
and it
yeah,
was in a way, and for again I had, without casting judgment and without casting but through my eyes and through what I've experienced and what I am experiencing with my children and my partner and my work life. It was just kind of like, wow, this is what people are actually really going through. And it really got me
yeah,
thinking, is like, how can these individuals see what the potential is of, like, essentially what you're doing, the work that
yeah,
you're doing, it's having these guys see
yeah,
this stuff and go, oh, actually, like, this is an alternate method that I can actually really help my partner when I arrive home, or
yeah,
I can take that moment to have a meditation before I walk in and just go hammer and tong at just blowing up at everyone. um, yeah. So,
yeah.
is this some of the tools and stuff that, like, you're teaching with your people that you're working with? Like,
1,000%. Yeah. One of I think as a meditation practitioner and teacher yourself, I think you'll appreciate just like the breath, right? The breath is a great reference for everything, right? When we're consciously breathing, there's an inhale, there's a pause, and there's an exhale, right? Pretty simple. Again, a lot of people are not so connected to their breath, right? And so the transition between inhale and exhale, there's not much of a transition, right? So people are just maybe just breathing, likely not even so consciously, right? And nothing wrong with that. That's where people are at. But then that's how they do everything, right? So that transition that you were speaking to of like coming home from work, right? Instead of honoring a transition, exhaling, shaking it off, like doing something for the self to release the tension from the workday and meet the family with an open heart, clear mind, right? They're just bringing all that baggage right into the home.
mm,
Uh, and it's a lot. And so that's, yeah, like you were saying, in those dads groups, there's a lot of tension and aggression, or like their wife isn't even talking to them. It's like, oh, she's only texting me aggressively. Or again, I'm also in some of those groups, just to get curious and connect with people. But it's a bit sobering to see what many people are going through on a day to day.
yeah, man. Sobering is the word for it. And it really kind of, yeah,
Yeah,
it's really struck kind of a chord in me, and on how to, like, navigate those waters and how to really help those men. And that's the thing, was like, for us, our primary clientele and people that we see are females, and they
yeah,
then looking at how to then have their partner do what I'm doing, or to have them doing, and there's the females are generally, I find, and the wives and the partners are the ones gently trying to get their men involved. And it's
yeah,
just that communication. I think it also comes down to communication from a loving um, perspective, and a direction rather than a nagging direction, and creating that kind of inquiry into, like, what does he actually really like, or what do you both need, as opposed to like wanting everything, um, would you say,
yeah.
like, that's kind of stuff that you see with men, and how do they come to, like, how do, like, are these men already on a journey, or are they kind of being forced in the door?
Mm, mm. Yeah, good question. I'm seeing a little bit of both, right? So even my program right now, it's quite small. There's about 5 guys in the dad's group program, and I probably spoke to almost 50, 50, uh, right? And most of the guys have never been to therapy. They've never had a coach and haven't done any real significant personal growth work, right? So when I was talking about this men's or this dad's group coaching container, I had to define coaching. I had to define what is a container. And most of them, again, the language was like, oh, it sounds like an interesting course that you're teaching, right? It's like there's still this um, a disconnect from, oh, there's more out there for me. Um, and so the guys who are in my group now, about half of them have done some work before, and this feels familiar to them. And the other half, this is their first time. And so even simple things like sharing about their day or about some of the things that they're being challenged with, or even sharing things that they want to celebrate in the presence of other men, they're doing that for the first time, and it's significant.
Mm. Yeah, I found that too with some
So,
men's circles and stuff that I've been in. It's like, yeah, that initial share or an initial kind of in ways that, but when you hold circle and you hold space for men, it's interesting to see those walls do come down pretty easily. And like once
oh
they
yeah,
once they're in the presence of other men and there's other men who are like stone cold on the outside, but they're actually sharing, it's like, what you said? It's like, okay, cool. I'm free to
yeah,
share this now as well. Um,
yeah,
yeah, and
yeah,
it's as a facilitator, it's special because you can go, okay, cool. Like these guys are dropping in. Um, yeah,
for sure. Yeah, and I leave every call so energized and inspired. Um, yeah, because just there's so much progress, so much shift possible when we come together.
cool. I don't,
And the big thing too is that everyone, yeah, go for it.
no, you go.
Yeah, a common theme is that people realize that they're unique. You know, my circumstances are unique to me, but they're not, I'm not alone, right? You're likely going through a handful of the similar or same things that I'm navigating. And a lot of these guys, they hold on to the story that what I'm going through, you'll never understand. No one else is going through this. I'm alone. Um, and so when they hear out loud that that's not true, it's again really humbling, but also really inspiring. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There is that kind of I've what I've experienced as well. It's like that me too. Like the yeah, okay, I can see that's happening. Oh, I've had that happen to me. The one that really I find is nice that there's a lot of people kind of someone shares and it may not be happening to the person right away, but they might have even happened. It might have happened to them, or in a few weeks' time, they're like, "Oh, you said something happened to you like a month ago. Like that's occurring to me now, but what you said then has really allowed me to then actually like take this and actually make something of it rather than being like wearing that badge of like oh my god like a badge of dredge and drudge and not feeling good, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's
Yeah.
really special with that circles and stuff because it allows men to kind of hear and actually learn how to listen too. That's the other thing is
Mm,
like one
mm-hmm,
really big thing
mm-hmm.
with a healthy relationship of any kind, and especially a conscious relationship with your partner, is actually being able to listen both actively and then able to respond to what they're saying rather than just flying off the handle at each other. Do you find like
Yeah,
with your participants that that kind of begins to develop a lot better in their other relationships?
for sure. That's one of the agreements that we make as a group at the beginning, at the first part of the first call. We set the agreements for the container, and one of them is around listening. That I agreed to listen. openly and not disrupt you or want to coach you or fix you or give a solution right away unless it is asked of me. If somebody asks, like, hey, I'm going to share this thing and I'm looking for advice, right? Then we can take it in, we can hear their story, and then respond with advice because they asked for it. But we really, again, as men, as dads who are, again, very quick to not listen or to give solutions immediately, it's important that we learn to flex the muscle of just listening, just holding space.
Oh man, that one hits. That one hits because it's like I'm always wanting. As soon as I start hearing something, I'm like, I need to fix it. I know what I need to tell you, but and quite often, yeah, it's that you got to take that
Yeah.
breath. You got to breathe. Do you need help? Do you need it? Do you need some advice on this right now? Because I have it here. It's right on the tip of my tongue. It's wanting to come out, but I'm holding myself back. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we both grow. We both grow,
Mm,
right?
absolutely.
Because if I just shared something, it's important for me to learn how to ask for help, for me to actually say the words, yes, I would like feedback. I would like your opinion. And then
Mm,
also for you as the listener, for you to say really clearly, like, would you like me just to listen, or would you like me to provide some sort of support? Because now
yeah.
there's choice. Now we both are actively engaging.
Yeah, and then the conversation continues a lot easier, and probably a lot more in depth than it would if someone just came straight back at someone and continued just blurting out what they really want to blurt out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So within your program and within what you're doing is um, more conscious fatherhood and stuff like that. Is there practices and stuff that you're putting in place that are helping men rather outside of circle work and stuff like that? Is there stuff that's you're putting in place that people can use and tools and stuff?
Yeah, 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 for sure. One of my approach to all this work is that it better be practical, right? It's one thing to come together to talk and share what's going on, but I think it's really important that we do introduce practices that are we practice them in group and then out in the real world in life. Hopefully, we know like, ah, yeah, there's a thing that I can reach for that I have within me.
Mm.
Um, and so for me, that looks like breath work.
Yeah,
Every session, I introduce a new type of breath work. Um, so, for example, the first week we did just a simple box breathing exercise.
yeah,
Um, but again, something to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system and to come back into a more regulated breath. Um, and then the following week, we were talking about the nervous system and the different states, and one way to go from sympathetic fight flight back into more parasympathetic rest and digest, friendly and free, whatever you want to call it, um, just by extending the exhale. So we did 5 minutes of just consciously breathing, where we're breathing in for a count of four and out for a count of eight. Again, just flexing that muscle of extending the exhale.
mm.
Um,
It's really
just two simple examples. Yeah,
yeah, and those two examples are really powerful examples, and like
yeah,
they can definitely they can change, yeah, like you said, your physiological reaction to and your nervous system reaction to anything. And that's one
yeah,
thing that I always tell with my clients and stuff like that, especially male clients who are working um, away from the family and come home to the family. One thing that I learned early on in my carpentry apprenticeship, because I'm a carpenter by trade and I was working on big commercial buildings at the time,
mm,
skyscrapers and stuff like that. And older
wow,
gentlemen, these older Italian gentlemen they were like concreters and form workers, and they would at the end of the day would go into the sheds, the lunch sheds, and get changed, and they get changed into actual like really nice attire every day. And so
Mm,
they
mm,
rather than jumping in their cars and going home to the family, they would jump in their
mm,
cars really well
mm.
dressed. So they're not dirtying their car. But it was so when they got home that they showed up in nice attire. And that lunch
Wow.
moment was then them severing their daytime work and then coming home. And it was just a mindful act that it never really occurred to me until
Mm,
I really began. I
wow.
was like, I asked them even when my early apprenticeship, like, what are you guys doing? It's like, oh, do this so we can go home to the family and like feel nice, not rather than dragging ourselves in there with like dirt and mud all over us. And it never really clicked until
I love that.
like quite a few years ago. And when I began my journey, I was like, oh, those guys are actually just really mindfully transitioning from work to
Yeah.
life. And yeah, they were the happiest dudes on the like. That was one of the reasons why I got out of construction in the first place, is because I just got sick of listening to men bitch and moan about their partners and everything
Mm,
like that. And that was before I started my work in the area, because I was like,
yeah.
I don't want to deal with this anymore. Like, I don't want to be a 40-year-old, 50-year-old man who just consistently like bitching and moaning about his partner, his kids, and blah 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 blah. Because there's more to life than and actually enjoying these interactions with these your family members. So
Yeah.
when I look back at it, I see those guys that were doing that. It was just such a valuable, like just one simple thing that they were doing, and they were the happiest dudes on site because they were just literally like they'd come to work, they'd do their work, they'd laugh, be a bit jovial, put their stuff on, and actually go home and take some happiness back rather than taking the drudgery back.
Well,
Yeah, it was beautiful.
uh, I want to honor that for a moment. Like, thank you for sharing that because it's so clear how they, like you said, are being mindful about the transition from work to home, right? And what's happening right now, there's a, there's one guy in my dad's group who, because of the pandemic, he's now working from home, I think 4 days a week. He goes into the office 1 day a week. But that 1 day a week that he has a commute, he comes back and he feels actually really refreshed because there's a transition between work and home. He has to like walk outside, he has to drive a car, blah, 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 all the things. But the 4 days that he's working from home, he doesn't have that. And he hasn't been mindful about creating and constructing a transition. And so he's been struggling because he's in his home office and then he just opens the door and enters the family and he's carrying a lot of tension, a lot of stress and anxiety from work. And then he's not able to be present and connected with his wife and kids. And so if you're listening and you don't have a transition or a commute, it's really important that you create a ritual or a routine, something that gives you that change of state between work and home life.
Absolutely, man. Like that's what I found recently because like doing more online work, and yeah, I'm in my office right now, and you might have just heard a crash. There's upstairs someone just opened a
Mm,
opened a like a sound like they're opening a garage or something. But yeah, there is that moment where you step out. You have to cool. All right, we're going out there and create that space, or whether it's you go for a walk around the house and you come back in, and that's it. And
Definitely.
pardon me. Um, yeah, and then there's the flip. And then when there's the flip reverse, it's the how do then men then support their partner for if they're getting home and then you got two, one, two, three, four, five kids or whatever, how many you got. It's then how if you've taken that moment to actually then create that space for you and your work and your family life. Um, it's then how then can you then show up for your partner when you once you've walked in, how do you then give her that space to then go, okay, cool.
Mm,
You need to go for a walk? Do you need to go for a meditation or do a little workout or what have you? Because, like, again, because
yeah.
a lot of these groups are like, oh, she gets home, I get home and I got all my work to do, and she's like complaining about like she never gets any time to herself. But it's like these people are like your partner's asking you for this space. So yeah, I'm interested to see like how you go about that, or how you advise your men or
Yeah.
advise the listeners to like navigate those.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm. So there's that moment when you come home, right? You open the door and it's totally unknown what's going to be happening on the other side, right? Maybe my mom and the little ones are like totally asleep, passed out on the couch, or the little ones are asleep and mom's finally able to do some dishes and like tidy up the living room, whatever is going on, right? But it's totally unknown. Realistically, we have no idea. Um, and so what I teach is called attunement. I need to be regulated in myself when I walk through that door so that I can be attuned and connected to whatever's happening. So if I walk in and there is chaos, I'm regulated. So I can be a source of co-regulation. You can use me, use my balanced nervous system to come back down to equilibrium. Um,
That's beautiful.
and so I come in and I'm scanning the environment. I'm connecting with my partner. I'm pretty quickly making an accurate assumption of where she's at, but then I connect with her. I make eye contact. I say, "Hey, baby, like, how are you? How was your day? What do you need?" Right? And again, assuming I have the time and space and energy to provide that right away. But I think just the act of communicating clearly, connecting, and letting that also be a part of the transition, right? Because also, if I come in and I'm all balanced and I'm open, and right away, but maybe my partner is really stressed. Maybe she had a really difficult day. And so she sees me, and right away it's like, hey, I need you to walk the dog and do the laundry at the same time, um, with two kids in each arm. And I'll literally say, like, actually, I don't have the capacity for that. I need a few minutes just to arrive myself. I also had a busy afternoon. I just need to arrive, and then I'm available for XYZ. Um, but it's about knowing what I have capacity for. It's about connecting to my partner, seeing where she's at, and then doing my best to show up in service.
No, that's beautiful. Yeah, that attunement is massive, you know. Like it's a great I love that word, attunement. And then it really it links back into our more primal kind of like ancestral days, like when we would come back from like bringing back the food or whatever, and you come back into the village and you survey what is occurring, and then the lay of the land essentially, and then go about what you need to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a really special way of actually, and for anyone listening, like to actually practice, because um yeah, I think like that's where I feel there's you can then really be like multiply that support for your partner. And it's vice versa. Obviously, like if you're a working mom and there's a stay-at-home dad, it's the same situation. It's like how can they both
Yeah.
support each other, um, especially if both are heightened state. Because I know with Emma and I, like if I was to walk out there and her and River have had a challenging morning or whatever, or afternoon, it's like offering that, because we know it's knowing what really regulates our own nervous system. So for Em, it's either meditation or going and doing a little workout. So it's like cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll take Riv for an adventure. We'll go for a bushwalk, or we'll go for a walk, or we'll go do something in the garden. So that's also getting outside and regulating his nervous system by grounding, while mum can then go and do
Yeah.
X, Y, Z, whatever she needs to do
Yeah.
or dad needs to do. Um, yeah, and it's with with this, it's like being conscious of like how much time you're taking to do it too. Like I know there's that flip side where then men or women, they then go to the gym for 3 or 4 hours, and disappear, or go to the climbing gym or go surfing or whatever it might be. And then it's actually
Yeah.
no better off for the family because you've taken so much time away where you could actually be of service to your family, and then it's all gone. And then you probably potentially coming home to a partner is like, where the hell have you been for the last 3 hours? Like, I'm now at the very end of my limit with what's going on. And you're walking, oh, cool, I've just gotten 4,000 barrels. Like, you know, I feel really good. And then, yeah, but then it's also then coming back and meeting those people, like you said, attunement, and really helping your partner. Because yeah, you've you've banked up this, like you've banked up the secret sauce. So but yeah, it's that consciousness. It's that consciousness of coming back to what you're actually taking and giving to that relationship. Would you feel?
For sure. Yeah, no, I feel you on that. I think also, it's easy for men to give up their sport, like give up surfing, give up climbing when they become a dad. It's kind of an excuse, actually. I think if somebody's really passionate about their thing, that they'll keep doing it, and that's important for their identity. Um, but I do think that, yeah, to your point of like the time that it can take away from the family. And so I think there's a conscious way to do it, right? Let's say it's a 4 hour surf trip. Um, the first thing is being really clear that it's going to be 4 hours,
Mm,
not saying, oh, hey, babe, I'm going to go for an hour. And then 4 hours later, you're home, right? So being clear, like, no, from 8 a.m. until noon, I'm gone,
mm,
right? And then going a layer deeper and then setting them up for success um,
yeah.
in whatever way that makes sense for you and your home. But going the extra mile to just to show that you're consciously giving because you are also taking that block of time.
Yeah, man. That's yeah, absolutely. That's a great point because if you can set it up really powerfully, then yeah, everybody then you can have that discussion with your partner. Okay, I'm gonna go for 4 hours. Like maybe on the weekend, or maybe you want to go for and do something for yourself for the 4 hours, and then we can like kind of trade off some time, or why don't we all go to the beach, like, and sit on the and like if your partner likes surfing or whatever, like we you can sit on the beach and we'll do some in and outs with each other, and that way then we all get some of the water in our veins, and we actually really feel good.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, there is those options, and that's yeah. It's just that again, coming back to that conscious conversations that you have with your partner and noticing your family, how they feel and interact with the way you're having those interactions, and then actually going, okay, cool, like maybe I'm a part of this situation that I can change, because ultimately all of our stuff comes back to ourselves. Um, how we're
Hmm.
having these conversations, how we're interacting in our environment, it all comes back to us. And if we can then better mitigate what we're doing and learn from what essentially learn from some mistakes that we might have made, and go and put that pride and ego aside. Okay, cool. Yeah, I actually was wrong there. Let's maybe this weekend we'll go to the beach, and rather than me going for 3 hours surf by myself, like I'll go for a couple of hours and we can all then sit on the beach and have some fun. And I found that, I found that in the first, like when we were living in another town, or the first town that we had, it was literally right down the road from the beach. And I would
Nice.
we would make that space that I could go for a surf, but then I would come home and give Emma that time to do what she needed to do, especially early on with the bait with River. But yeah, now it's moving a little bit further away from the beach. It's a little bit harder because it takes me probably an hour almost travel time, and then if I was to have an hour surf, so
Mm.
you're looking at 2 hours, and then it's like, okay, well, now how do we then get Tyson a surf and then get you some time, or have that interaction where I can actually, yeah, have meet you where you're at, and um, like create that equilibrium. So yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah.
I'm just having some realizations here while I'm talking to you, mate. Thank you so much. um,
Yeah, good, good. Take it, use it.
yeah, man, it's great. Like even though you like you've kind of you might think you've got your boat sailing in the right direction. It's always nice to have a chat with someone who is like in the same field, same boat, and kind of well, not maybe not the same boat, but going down the same river and the
Mhm.
river of consciousness, and actually may have had some experience and stuff. So, yeah, that's been so good. Being able to have these little realizations in the conversation with you. With regards to like what you're going on and stuff, I could continue chatting for ages, but I want to be mindful of your time. Um, what in regards to your programs, have you got anything rolling out at the moment? Also, are you taking on like because a lot of I'm in Australia, obviously, if there are dads and stuff who are um, potentially listening and or partners who are listening to this and would like to have their partner start something, are you open to taking international people as well?
Oh, that would be so cool for so many reasons. Yes, I think. What time is it right now where you are?
So at the moment, it's 20 past 8 in the morning. So yeah, early.
Awesome. Yeah, so my evening is the middle of the morning the next day for you. Um, so if it worked out for someone's schedule, it would be really cool to have an Australian perspective in one of the dads groups. So that's absolutely possible. Again, even the fact that we were able to make this conversation work is just a testament to, a little bit of planning, and we can move mountains. Um, so yeah, there's future versions of Rising Dads. There will be a cohort starting in June. Likely, I don't have the exact date, but likely mid-June. Around actually in the US, there's a Father's Day, is a Sunday, June 18th.
Mhm.
So I was thinking about the week right after that. Um, and then in many ways, I'm just getting started. So like there's a lot of, if anything that we talked about today feels inspiring and you want to collaborate, again, I'm super open to ideas, uh, anything related to expanding the consciousness, and giving dads more support, more resources, and more community to plug into. I think it's so needed right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So, Rising Dads is the offering that you have. And is that a website or do you have Instagram, Facebook, something like that that people can come and check you out?
Yeah, yeah. Best place to engage with me right now is on Instagram, Rise with Ravi. Um, yeah, all my programs and offerings are related to rising. Ravi in Sanskrit is the sun. So rising with the sun is what I'm all about. Um, and yeah, Rising Dads group program coming up. Rise with Ravi on Instagram, the best place to connect with me. And yeah, don't be a stranger. If something inspired you and you were listening, please reach out, say hello. That's how Tyson and I got connected initially, just by yeah, creating meaningful content and taking the extra step to say hi.
Yeah, man, that's it's been a great little journey to watch you and watch you unfolding and just even being able to connect. Like the big thing is, I found becoming a new dad is like connecting with dads who are on the same path. I found because we
Yeah,
did obviously like yourself, you you did your home birth and stuff like that. That was a little bit outside of the mainstream stuff, and we we were kind of like looked at like, oh, what the hell are you doing kind of situation. So it was nice to be able to connect with dads who are actually been on this journey, whether it's like next door or
yeah,
someone across the ocean, um, who's still walking this walk. And yeah, for any listeners out there who are going down any of this kind of stuff that we've chatted about today, it's know that you're not alone. You're not one of like you. There is a lot of people who are doing what you're doing, and reaching out to guys like Ravi or myself who can guide you, is going to really be able to set you up, because then you're actually supported. And that's the big thing, I think. What I keep coming back to is like that tribe mentality, the kind of the initiation stuff is like where we've our modern society, our modern Western society, essentially, I feel is like kind of missed the boat a little bit of recent years. Is like that kind of has been taken out. So to be able to have these platforms, these offerings to take advantage of, to
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
find tribe, find initiation, find. And the initiation I've found really is that initiation into parenthood is like a huge shift in everything that you do.
Yeah.
And so being able to have
Yeah.
people who have walked it, who are walking it, and bounce ideas off and get support is, and then even if you're in it and you're just beginning, like if you're just beginning and you're able to actually take advantage of these resources, then like imagine what when you hit the ground running, like you're actually going to hit the ground running and be very empowered in what you're doing. So, yeah, if
Yeah.
you are listening, look Ravi up, and get a hold of him, get on board on one of his courses or his offerings, work with the man, or even just listen to what he has to say and just take in all the magic. And other than that, thank you so much for joining me today, Ravi. That was pretty awesome to have a chat with you. We'll have to tee up another time and go a little bit deeper into some other stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, I appreciate your questions, your presence, and the work that you're doing as well. Thanks for having my voice on your platform.
Thanks, brother. That's been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cheers.